Okay, we are continuing Pei Daled Halacha Vav, the Ramban. Now, we're actually not going to look inside the Ramban now, but this is going to be part one of two parts here on the same topic. The first part, we're going to be talking about a very important, critically important question about bugs, which is how big a bug needs to be before it becomes usher. Is there such a thing as the size of a bug that's mutar and usher? And it has very practical applications. And the way it's going to be divided in Mir Hashem is that this time we're going to only talk about what the opinions are. It's going to take me a few minutes to say that, but what the opinions are as to what they have to be. And then the next time we're going to talk about the examples. It's going to be very theoretical. We're talking about now it has to be this big and this big. It's not going to be so practical. Next time in Mir Hashem we'll talk about specific bugs that we're talking about, or fruits that are, or vegetables that are affected by this question. And this, next time we'll talk about the proofs back and forth as to why each side thinks that they're correct in the way they're thinking. This time we're really going to be talking just in the theoretical as to what do they actually hold, okay? Or what do I think they actually hold, okay? Now there's going to be a related question, which is, how much do I have to check for a bug? Okay? In other words, when you think about bugs being very small, there's a related question, which is, how hard do I have to check? If I have to look really closely, how much do I have to do to find it? That's related to this question. That in is going to be an halacha test. That's going to be an halacha test. Okay? But for this one, we're just talking about, and the reason why we're doing it over here is because when you find that next time, one of the rayas that's brought is from the Ramah and our halacha. Okay? That's why we're talking about it at this point. So we're not really in the Shulchan today. Next time, we'll talk about, there are those who bring a raya from the Ramah in this thing. Okay, so we'll start like this. Over the past couple of 100 years, scientists have gotten better and better microscopes, or whatever you want to call it, and they have discovered that there are all types of microscopic beings that are alive. Things that we can't see, that you can only see under magnification. There's all types of things going on, that things that are alive. Okay, so when
just as a sidelight is that those little things that you're talking about, some of them are actually critical to life.
I am sure they are.
No, I'm just saying.
I believe
they have that. That we're not talking about necessarily historic.
But they may not be bad things. They may be good things. I have no problem. So now, when these discoveries came out, there were poskim who said, or at least there are those who think that there are poskim who said that those are, if they're alive, then they're bugs. If they're bugs, then they're awesome. There are those who said that, okay, but it's generally accepted that it's not like that, and that only things that you can see are the only things that are also the things that you could see. Okay, we're not even talking about that sheet. Okay, there was such an opinion. Okay, but that's what it's accepted. The only things that you could see are the things that are awesome. What we want to talk about is something that's more subtle than that, and that is. What we're just saying is that in order to be usher, you have to be able to see, in the way we say this, with the naked eye, without any magnification. And we're going to try to understand what does that mean, that you can see it. Okay? And then we're going to have three questions we have to talk about. Okay? The first thing is, whose vision should we use when we make this decision whether something is visible? Do we look by the person with the weakest vision? Does he have to be able to see it? Is it someone with the greatest vision or someone with the average vision? That's our first question. The second is, everyone will agree that when we say you could see that something is a bug, that if I can see, let's say I see that there's something on my vegetable and it has wings, okay, or it has legs, okay. So I can tell that it's alive because of its features, okay. There are appendages to it. There are features.
Well, I know that it's a bug.
I'm sorry. I can tell that it's a bug by the features that it has about it, okay. Or I can tell that it's a bug the way it moves, okay. Dirt doesn't crawl across a vegetable. So I can see it moving. I don't see any features to it, but I can tell that it's a bug. I can tell what it is because that's how you identify things. By its movement, also tells me that it's something. Okay?
Right.
What happens if it was once were able to identify it, meaning it had wings, it had legs. There were things about it that it had little whiskers that made it look like it was a bug. But then something happened to it. They got crushed, or it died, or something happened to it, and now I can't tell what it is anymore. Now when I look at it, I can't tell anymore. I used to be able to, but now I can't tell anymore. So is that considered that it's visible or it's not visible? And the third question is, what happens if it's big enough that I can see it? I can see the thing in front of me. I can see if there's a spot there, but I can't see anything that would tell me that thing is alive. There's nothing about it that would tell me that the thing is a bug. To me, it looks just like a spot of dirt. Okay, I don't see appendages. There's nothing there. It's not that it used to have them. It's just so tiny that I don't see anything. It doesn't move. It doesn't do anything that indicates that it's alive. It happens to be that it is, and I can see it. I can see that, but to me, it just looks like nothing. Like this piece of hair that's sitting here, to me, it looks like a piece of hair. But if it was really a worm, but there's nothing about it that tells me that because it has no signs of life or of distinguishing features. Okay, so those are our three questions. Okay, and we're going to see, we'll get to next time, that these which sound like theoretical questions really have practical applications. Okay, there's real fruits and vegetables and bugs that we talk about that are related to this question. Okay, I'm going to just stick in that it's worth knowing that more than a year ago, a year and a half ago, in Dallas, Shlomo Gissinger gave a long share on very much related to these topics. I don't know, he didn't say everything that we're going to say, and we're not going to say everything that he said, but he spoke in Dallas for the ACO Fathom Convention, really very much about these topics, and it was very appreciated at that time. Okay, so let's go through the question. The first question would seem to be the simplest one to answer. The first question was, whose vision do we use to decide if something, we said it has to be visible. Okay, well, whose vision do we use to make that decision? That would be simply the simplest question, because for all the rules in the Torah, everything, we use an Adam Beinin, we use the average person. What does the normal average person see able to see? So, for example, the Chassam Sofer says, when you want to check your lettuce for Pesach, for the Seder, he says, don't use people who are chalushei haro'os, who have poor eyesight. Don't use those people to check. Use people who see well. What happens if you have a Sefer Torah and you want to know if the two letters are touching each other? Okay, well, two parts of letter are touching each other where they're not supposed to. So you want to know if they're touching. So how do you make that decision? You wouldn't take somebody who has super eyesight. You would take the person with regular eyesight to make that decision. Okay, so in most dinim of the Torah, we judge things by the average regular person, not the person who's on any extreme. So that would seem to be the easy answer to that question, to use the person with the normal average eyesight. Okay, within this, I'll tell you, I'll just note two things that should be obvious, which are, first of all, is if a person uses glasses in order to make his eyesight be average and normal and regular, so then he not only is he allowed to, but he's mechuyev to wear his glasses when he checks this thing, because otherwise he's not seeing the average person, what we call 20/20. He doesn't see what the regular things. Rav Osler speaks to that clearly, but of course it's true that a person who has glasses is considered, so to speak, normal. He's back to normal eyesight, and he can and should wear his glasses. And the second thing is that the checking has to be done in a light where a person can see the way a person is supposed to be able to see. If I sit in a dark closet and I can't see, so I can have average eyesight, but I'm not looking in a way that's normal, so this is, of course, obvious also, the Halachos speaks to that, but you have to be seeing it in a good light, so you can see what's available.
Better than average.
What do you mean?
In this case, in other words, it's not that like the average type of thing, but you have to shine a strong light on it.
Oh, good. I don't know if the word is...
It's light. It's totally different. It's not, you don't see it in an average setting.
Okay.
Maybe you're mechuyev to, unless you're not saying that, maybe you're mechuyev to shine a strong light on it. It's not totally not, I don't normally see things, with a strong light shining directly on top of it. So
okay. It's actually, I wasn't thinking it in that way, but you're correct. You really do have to use any method of looking in the light that will help you.
So why would that be
see it?
Why don't you say, it's not the average?
He means it's like this. Let's say there's a bug that has a similar color to the leaf. Okay, and if you look at it just on the table like this, you're not going to see it. But if you pick it up to the light, okay, when the light shines through it, you'll notice it because it's not exactly the same shade. But holding it up to the light, with the light shining through, you'll see the thing that has very similar colors. Features can show up different than if you have it laying on the
floor. And you need an X-ray machine.
Excuse me?
That's still average light.
It is average. So it's average light that you're, so to speak, playing with.
What do you mean it's average light? It's not average light. Most things you walk around, you don't normally see things. It means a strong, direct, close light on top of it.
He means as if you took, when the
mechanic... It's not an invention. I understand that.
When the mechanic works on your car, he's got this really bright light. He sticks in the middle of your engine. So maybe that's super bright. Maybe you are or not have to do that. I don't know. But using the light in different ways, and saying, I'm going to look in the sunlight, I'm going to put light behind it, I'm going to try it in different ways to try to... They don't speak exactly. Talk about these things with a camouflage, where you do have to find it. I mean, the fact that it happened to be a green on green, so you'll have to find ways to look at it. Okay. That's sort of, if I could just explain, that's going to sort of be what we're going to talk about in Halachos. What steps you have to go to find things, more than that size. It has to do with size.
Is there anybody, maybe somebody else
you might be right. Okay. Maybe when we get to Halachos, we'll be smart. I don't know. Okay. We'll find it.
Okay. On the first part that you started with the glasses.
Yes.
I'll just use myself as an example because, now, the last time I got my glasses changed, I had very good vision. But if I were to look at a piece of fruit or a lettuce or whatever, I have to take my glasses down because the glasses will allow you to see at a certain distance clearly. But to inspect something, even with the multi-gradient,
That's correct.
so you have to. So someone with excellent vision or medium vision is a lot different from a person that's wearing glasses that it brings into medium vision.
Maskim. Sometimes a person has glasses that make it that he can only see in certain ways and not other ways, like people with reading glasses, or not with reading glasses. And sometimes that person needs to take his glasses off. My point is that the person, if the glasses restore his vision to regular, to average, what we call 20/20 vision, then that's what he should use. And if they don't, then he shouldn't. But you shouldn't think that, well, if I'm using glasses, well, they're magnifying, because I can't see a blessed thing on my paper without my glasses, right? So, then when I'm doing this, I'm magnifying it. No, of course not, because when I put on my glasses, I see what I'm supposed to see like, I just...
Right, you see better without the glasses on.
Then, like you said, the first thing. Okay, now.
So again, it might not be average vision. Again, it might be healthy vision. It's not average.
Maybe the word average is not the right word. Average implies that if everybody in town doesn't see so well.
Most people wear glasses.
Right. Nowadays, you're right. Most people wearing glasses. You're right. The word average, you're right. It's not a good word. The word is what...
4 out of 5 people wear glasses. 4 out of 5 wear glasses.
In this room, right. So you're right. The word is not average. Average is not the right way to say it. Average is not the right way to say it. It means it's healthy vision. That's a better way to say it. A person, well, we would say in English, we'd say he has 20/20 vision. Okay, he sees the way he's supposed. When you go to the eye doctor, this is what you're supposed to see.
You agree? I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe you go up to average. Maybe
it's hard to believe. Okay. Anyhow, so so now the thing is like this. Even though we said that the person should have healthy vision. Okay, the typical healthy vision you're supposed to have. Healthy, just it's not getting across the point yet. So just that he shouldn't have beyond average. The average is to say it's not too good or not too good.
Average.
Okay.
What does it mean to have beyond average? What is beyond average eyesight? What does that mean? People have beyond average eyesight.
Yeah, people could see better than other people. They could see.
So let's say the standard's like 20/20.
Right.
So is there something more than 20?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now.
There's even numbers for it.
That's called eyesight.
Okay. Now.
Numbers 20 to 10. I don't know.
Even though the person has to have this kind of average eyesight, it's understood, and here's going to come our complication. It's understood that a person needs a certain amount of training, expertise in order to know what he's looking at. Okay, which is to say, if I never saw a small animal, I wouldn't be able to tell and say that's a cat and that's a dog, because it's only that I've seen them. Now I could from across the street could tell that's a cat or a dog. I have some kind of understanding of what I'm looking at because I've seen it beforehand. So a person needs a certain, even to say that the person has regular average vision means is that you grew up seeing vegetables. You looked at vegetables in your life and you've seen bugs. You've opened up a celery and seen the bug sitting on the bottom of the celery. So you have an idea of what you're looking at. And therefore that person now is able to see regularly. You can't take the guy who's never seen a fruit or vegetable except for a French fry. He's never seen a fruit or vegetable in his life and say, go ahead and look at the vegetables, because he won't know what he's looking at. We'll see at other times. There's other issues which he won't know where to look. That's a separate. I'm not talking about where to look. I'm talking about he should just have some familiarity with what he's looking at. Okay. And here,
when you say a cat and a dog, if I'm walking down the street, I've never seen an animal in my life. I see something with 4 legs down the street. That's an animal. What do I care if it's a cat or a dog?
My point is, if you had never seen an animal in your life, okay, and you would see a cat sitting there, you wouldn't know what it is.
If I never saw an alien from outer space, and there's something moving.
Okay, so the metaphor is on it.
Right, let's not argue about that, Marshall.
No, if you're looking for something, if you're looking at a leaf of lettuce, and you see something on there, is it something? Is it a piece of dirt or is it a bug? You flick it off, you get rid of it, and then what is the problem?
Our question is just, is it something, you're saying, hey, why not take it off? Right. I'm not talking about why not do it. Are you allowed to eat it or you're not allowed to eat it?
You have to take it.
We're going to find out next time, why do I care if you're allowed to eat it or not? Okay. Now, so things like this. And this is what leads us to our difficulty. I'm only going to tell you the problem. I'm not going to get to the answer for yet, which is, since a person needs a certain amount of familiarity in order to recognize the bugs, and even more so, which is what we're not talking about, which is to know where to find them. You have to just have an understanding of where they hide out. Because of that, people need to be trained in order to learn these things. And now that complicates the issue. Because the question is, that training itself could possibly make the person be able to see things that are beyond healthy average. I think. Wait, let me just say. That training, which is required, of course, you need to be able to recognize things. You need to be able to know what you're looking at to see it. That training we've seen that training can sometimes make a person be able to see things beyond what the average person sees. Okay, in other words, you need this much training to know what you saw. Okay, I'm going to give you a number. Okay, let's say it took an hour for you to be able to an hour of training in order to know what the bug is. I'm making up a number. It took an hour of training, but I didn't give you an hour of training. I gave you 100 hours of training. So it might be that 100 hours of training might be too much, and now you see things that you were beyond what the average healthy person is. And we're going to see about that more in a second. Yes, sir.
Where do we know you have to have training? I don't understand.
Where do we know that you have to have training? It's not. It's right. Just common sense.
Common sense. Again, let's go back to the cat and the dog. If I've never seen a cat or a dog before, and I'm walking down the street, you see animals, but I've never seen that type of animal. So if you see it moving, you see it has features, you know what it is.
No,
you don't know what it is. So if you're looking at something, and you know what bugs are, so you've never seen an ape before, you've never seen a tick before, fine. But
if the only bug you ever saw was a mosquito, okay, this big mosquito or a bee, and you might look at the thing and it might not even catch your attention that thing is a bug. Well, it looks like a piece of dirt to you. Once you've seen a few.
How would that ever exist? I don't understand what it means.
How would what exist?
What would it have? It doesn't have a shared characteristic with something else. What bug doesn't have something you've never seen before?
It's
a fly.
Yes.
So you know bugs have wings.
Okay.
It's in ants. You know bugs have legs, antennas. What is it you're looking at that you would never?
So you
even beyond the other recognize.
I'll give you an example. You might not be seeing when you first look at a bug. You might think it's a speck, but if you know how a shape of a bug is different than dirt. So then you have the training to know that maybe I should focus more on this. Even though I don't see the wings right now, I don't see the legs.
Why should a shape determine a bug?
Because that's how you know what a bug is over time.
No, if you don't know what a bug is by distinguishing features.
But how do I know
some of the features are, some of the features are the shape that it has to it. And
a piece of dirt can have the same shape.
That's okay.
Or color.
Those are not distinguishing.
That is distinguishing. I can distinguish between dirt and a bug by the color because dirt is one color and a bug is another color.
Yeah, but you can find dirt that's the exact same color as well.
It's pretty hard to.
Okay, next.
Wait, isn't that?
We'll fix that.
Let's put it on the shelf.
Explain to me where this concept of training comes in. Is there a series of so these are how you have to train? So I'm wondering, is there a Masorah that you have to train?
I agree with Yankee that it's common sense that a person needs. Because you might think that the training. You could tell me the training is 10 minutes worth.
Wasn't training. Wasn't training.
Okay, the word training has maybe
it's brought down in as far as in order for a person to be vegetables, you have to have a Masorah how to check for bugs.
No.
It says that. So what was this? Where this
maybe
first of all, how come that we have to have a training?
Maybe the word training has a negative connotation to it, but the word it's not a point. If you spend a little bit of time, you might think that little bit of time is 5 minutes. A little bit of time seeing some of the bugs that are out there, and we can argue how much the time is. A certain amount of bugs seeing those bugs. Now you're alert to that.
It's not a thing. I haven't had any training. So like a really, really tiny, small bug.
But you've seen a bug before. So
yes, when I'll point it out to you, you'll know.
It's too small for you to see. Then who's that?
When we'll point it out to you, you'll say, "Oh yeah, it is a bug." But if you have zero training, you're gonna miss it.
You're gonna miss it for what? For the size? For the
whatever's involved. You're gonna miss it. That's all.
Okay.
So despite all that, chances are you're gonna miss stuff if you.
Okay.
No, that's the issue of knowing where to look.
No. Even you're looking at the thing. You look at things, there's a lot of dirt and stuff like that. You're gonna go training whatsoever.
It's a distinguishing feature because it's a bug.
It's a bug. It is a bug. Even you will agree when you look at. Oh yeah, you're right. It's a bug.
What's there? That's when you look at it. Oh yeah, what's there?
Okay. I'm gonna have to stop, but we're never gonna finish. Okay.
We're gonna have 4 sessions on this.
Hopefully not. Okay. So the second and third question really are based on the same fundamental issue. Okay. The second and third questions were I don't know what they were anymore. The second and third questions were: what happens if you were once able to identify it and now you can't? I mean, you used to have the candidates that got squashed. The third question was: it was big enough that you could see it, but it did not. There was nothing about it that was ever able to make it. Didn't have legs, didn't move, didn't do anything that would make you know that it was alive. Is that Mutar? And really, those two are based on the same question, which is: is the criteria for making a bug that we say it's visible enough to be asur or mutar, is the criteria that it's visible, or is the criteria that it's identifiable. Okay? If the criteria is that it has to be visible, then this thing is visible. The fact that it was crushed, it's still visible, or the fact that it's very tiny, but I can see the spot, it's still visible, but it's not identifiable. Okay? And that's the question, is the criteria that it has to be visible or identifiable? I'm going to give you some names, just to help. I know we're not talking about right, I'm just going to give you some names just to put it in perspective. Okay? The Mekilim are, at least from what we know, from the way we know that are Mekilas, a Talmud of Rav Gusman told us that Rav Gusman told him that Rav Chaim Oizer was Mekel then. Okay, that's from, in my name, name-wise, that's
Specifically what?
Things that are big enough that you could see it, but not big enough that you could identify what the bug is.
You're not getting into the dead business, the dying.
I think you're going to find out next time. And you'll hear as we talk today that I think they're related to each other.
Very strong feeling.
If it's not identifiable, how do you know what it is if it's visible? I mean,
Time out. Rav Osner is Mekel. Rav Elsky Rabbi Shachter was Mekel. From the Machmirim side, and I actually heard just the other day, I heard from someone in the start, Rabbi Hanan is Mekel also. Okay. The Machmirim, okay, on the side of the Machmirim, Rabbi Yashiv is Machmir, Rav Chaim Kohen is Machmir about it. I heard, I'm still up in the air on this, as whether it's true or not. I heard from another person who told me just a day or two ago, maybe I shouldn't say it. Okay, somebody else who's Machmiros. Okay, I won't say it.
In other words, you can't tell it's a bug whatsoever with your naked eye, at least.
Right.
But you know from other ways that somehow that it's a bug.
I'm whether you know or you don't know.
It's there.
It is a bug. It is a bug.
We're talking theory.
Yes, in theory, we're talking about theory.
That
You know that it's a
you know
bug.
it's a bug, but you can't tell it's a bug.
But you can't tell.
How is it possible?
Okay, Rav Shlem Zalman, in Shmir Shabbos, it's brought in Shmir Shabbos, Rav Shlem Zalman Arbach thought it was a mutar. Okay, the end of this, of what it speaks to Shlem Zalman, implies that he then decided, he just changed his mind to be machmir. It's not clear, we'll talk about that next time, what the Rosh Hashanah, it seems, from what it says, the Rosh Hashanah thought it would be mutar, he heard the Chazanish was machmir, and therefore, it sounds like from it reads that he decided to be machmir. Okay, we'll see.
It's in
Shmir Shabbos. No, it's in Shmir Shabbos, brought down from Rosh Hashanah. We'll talk about it next time, I hope, about what exactly what it meant over there. Okay, and among, these are from the certain type of names, and not from the people, the people who, contemporary people who help and teach people how to find bugs and to go through the halachos, etc. Two of the big names that are involved in it, Ravaya is in Eretz Yisrael, who follows the Machmir, and Rav Kissinger in Lakewood, who follows the Mekilim. Okay, so that will help you in putting things in perspective. What will be names? Okay, now, the simple way to understand the machlokes, the simple way to understand this machlokes is that the Machmirim hold, the people who say we should not eat these bugs, hold that what mutar is something that you can't see. As soon as you could see it, as soon as it crosses that threshold, that it becomes visible, then it becomes asur. And the Mekilim hold, at this point I can explain you the Mekilim better. The Mekilim hold that why in fact, I never told you this, why in fact if a bug is microscopic you're allowed to eat it? What's the reason why? Why is it if it's so tiny that you're allowed to eat it? How do we know that you're allowed to eat it? Maybe if it's there, a bug is a bug, person don't eat bugs. So the answer is, what people say is, that among different versions of the same thing, which is, the term the Torah was given to humans, it wasn't given to malachim who can see things that we can't. It was given to us, obviously Hashem didn't have in mind that I shouldn't eat this thing. If he wanted me to not eat it, how can he want me to not eat it when he didn't give me the facilities to figure out that the thing is there? Well, that same logic could also extend to say, if I would be able to see it, but I couldn't identify it, what did he want from my life? How was I supposed to know that the thing is that it's a bug? So the same logic that says I didn't have to avoid the microscopic thing would tell me I don't have to avoid this thing either. Okay, that's what the Mekilim. That would be the simple way of understanding the machlokes. But I'm gonna, if we have time, I'll keep on going.
What do you do with something that Cheskes is certain?
Next time. Hashem next time.
Here.
Yeah, Hashem next time we'll talk about it. Okay. So now, if we think about this, I told you that next time I'm going to give you practical applications. Okay, but it would seem that what I'm talking to you about does not have any practical applications because we're talking about something that you could see, but you can't identify that it's a bug. So what does it mean? So if you can't identify it's a bug, so you'll never notice it. If you're not going to tell that it's a bug, You go right past it. So what am I talking to you about? Is it in theory mutar asur? What do you mean is it in theory mutar asur? Who cares? What will I do with that piece of information? If you tell me that this line over here is really a bug, okay? I can't tell that it's a bug. I told you it's big enough that you could see it, or you used to be able to tell it, but I can't tell. So what will I do differently? I'll never know if this one is the bug or this one is the bug. So I'm going to do
something. Maybe I have to take it out.
So what you're saying is some guys take off everything that's on there. Should you take off every piece? You know, there are seeds inside my apple. Well, maybe those seeds are bugs also. English ever said, what if say everything else? So what am I talking to you about? Even I'm going to tell you it's going to be. How can there be a practical application? What? Good question. So I have three possible answers to that question, but you're going to see that all of them are flawed. And the reason why I'm telling you this question and answers is to then direct you to what I think is
next time.
No, to what I think is really the explanation between the machmirim. What do the machmirim really hold? Okay, because if we see that we can't make any sense of that shita, then we have to understand it differently. Okay, to just say that it's usher, what do you mean? So what will I do with it? On this piece of table, there's a million pieces of dirt, so I can't eat anything. What am I supposed to do with it? Okay, so the first thing he says, okay, I know what the answer is, because you have to go check with magnification. Pick up your apple, use a magnifying glass to look around it, and you'll find out which of those specks is something that you're not allowed to eat. Okay, but now of course that makes no sense, because we said that a person is not mechuyev to use magnification. So it can't be that it's usher because and therefore I have to go use magnification. That doesn't make sense. Okay? Our next passage
doesn't make sense because they didn't have magnifying glasses at the time the halacha came about.
Yes, that's true also. Yes, that's true. Now, yeah, you're right. Yes, you're right about it.
But they had better vision.
We'll talk about that next time. Hopefully. It may be two next time by the time. All things I have to tell you. Before I go on, I do have to tell you, it's worth noting, and this is what David was grumbling about, is that there are those who say that because of this question, that's a right to the Mekilim. I have to just tell you that, okay? But I'm trying to explain to you the Machmir, what are they trying to say? Okay? What am I talking to you? Why am I wasting your time? Because I talk about something that has no Nafkamir. Okay? Second is, maybe we'll take people who have beyond average vision, or they have some special way of doing it, and let them check my vegetables. Those people won't have to use magnification. They can see what nobody else can see. So let them check the vegetables for me, because you say, okay, don't use magnification. Okay, fine, I won't. So I'll go to one of these people and I'll say, you check it for me because you could see it by yourself. Okay? And in fact, you shouldn't think there's only one or two of them. There's loads of people like that. Okay, there's lots of people who can see things that regular people can't see. Get one of those people to check your stuff. Okay. Now, there's two problems with this.
There's such a variance in sight that someone who has vision.
Yes. So, for this Shiloh, yes, there is. Okay. Now, the two problems with this. First is, something seems wrong to say. It's incongruous to say that the only people out of 100 people, only one of the people in the room is allowed to check vegetables.
One second. This is only limited to vegetables, which in this bar that they have a meat, a motzoi of bugs. Just don't just stuff.
How would you know? How would you know?
Okay, so
you look at your apple.
The patterns of what's going on on the vegetable market at a particular time.
So that's interesting.
It's not every time I pick up, I go to my refrigerator. I gotta call my the guy here.
How will you know that?
How do you know that this lettuce is being a
Let's see something doesn't have a meat in it. Carrots, not a meat in it.
Okay.
You pick up a carrot, and on top of it you see a worm. Are you allowed to eat the worm?
I see a worm.
Yeah, you see a worm.
Of course not.
So over here, did you see any dirt on your carrot? I said, there's loads of dirt on my carrot. So,
I know, but I don't know how to believe it. It's not a meat.
I'm looking at it. It's a bug. That's awesome.
That they don't say. They don't say
that.
They say in theory it's ulcer, and therefore when it has
who decides what the meat hamotzi is in a vegetable?
No, so he's saying is let.
How much longer?
I don't know. Depends how quiet you are. Okay, so go. Okay, so the second choice, so to say that only, so maybe you'll see an answer. Maybe that'll be an answer. We'll have to think about that. So maybe we'll say that only those people can check. So the first thing that's wrong is that the only thing certain people check, something's wrong with that. Okay, it's hard to believe that the only people who are allowed to check vegetables are those certain people. And of course, the second thing is, how did we get all these people who are able to see so amazingly, that they see, that these people see so much better? Okay, it's something very interesting. Those people who are able to see it if you stopped 100 people in the street, you won't find people who could see these things. The only people who could do it are people who were trained to see things through magnification. You won't find, if you stop 100 people in the street, go on the bus that passes by and say, any of you guys could see these things? None of them could see it. It's not that it's 1 in 100. It's very specific 1 in 100s who are able to see it. those people, we're saying this from experience, having watched people being trained and who are trained, that's what it is. Okay? To make things even more complicated, is that the people who have this, who are able to see this beyond average, the mashgichim who are able to see this beyond average, that change is a very subtle and slow change that happens to them. To the point, they don't think that they have better than average eyesight. A person who grew up not seeing very well, or seeing better than average, knows that he doesn't see like everybody. That's not what the people think. When you stand in front of them, they don't understand how come you don't see that the bug has stripes, and he's missing a leg on the left side, and that was on his back. They don't understand. When they look at it with you, the average person, say, I see nothing. I see just a piece of dirt. And they see everything. That one, you can do what he ate for lunch. He's got a little extra tomato sauce on it. It's got everything. It's really amazing what they can see. But it comes such slowly and with such over years of experience that they don't even recognize that they have this better than average vision. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is, it could be that person, the person who you would say, maybe I should turn to that person, that he should check my vegetables, maybe he's overqualified. Okay? Overqualified in this case would be no good. Okay? A third choice, not going to be much better than the first two. Third choice is, this is maybe along the lines of, it's not exactly what yesterday, but along the lines, which is, maybe the people with the above average skills should teach us what we have to do. They'll tell me that if I wash my vegetable in this way, it'll get off all those things that I'm supposed to get off. They'll teach me what to do. They'll say, wash like this, and then do like this. There could be a process, and I'll do that. Which has this, again, it has the same flaws, which is that that person, again, I'm getting something that I wasn't, so to speak, supposed to know. I'm getting it from an expert who has beyond average abilities who's telling me that. Okay. So we're left hanging here, back to the question, which is, what's the point of this discussion? What does that mean that there are machmir who hold that those dots are usher when that has what's the practical application for that? So I think that if we will understand, we could understand the shittas hamachmir better, and that will help us we'll understand what they think better, it'll answer our questions, and it'll help, I think, frame things better, what our discussion is. Now, I have to tell you something. Wait, let me just finish up my thought. These machmir, for that matter, the Mekilim, this is not a piece that's written in long shuvas with long, deep explanations. The most we get is a few words here, a few words there, and someone wrote something, or we heard something, without a clear explanation. So we're sort of, like these, putting words into their mouth. We don't really, I'm not saying that I notice what they're saying. I'm trying to make sense of what they're saying and saying this. Yes.
If we would say that if something once had distinguishing features and lost them, it makes it mutar, right? So that would be. So then we would know this thing if we know that this thing is a bug because. I mean, you can't tell now, but let's say you knew before.
I knew yesterday. Okay.
Yes, it is a bug. So if that makes it mutar, so then this question of if it doesn't, so now I know it's a bug.
Okay, so you think we could come up with a crazy scenario. It could be that I would snip the legs off. So I knew at the spot, like I snip the legs off, and when no one's watching, I snip the legs off. And then when Kenny walks in, I say, Kenny, you're not allowed to eat that because I know it's a bug. And so you came up with this unusual situation. But in day-to-day life,
let's see the New York bugs. Let's see when they're alive, they're jumping all over the place.
Okay, we'll get
I can see it.
We'll get into examples next.
And now, someone looks at it,
Okay, we'll get to that next. So maybe that's an answer. But we're going to have very much fewer. It seems we would seem to have less examples. And I'm going to try to give you an explanation that will help make it more, and it'll help explain the Shita B'chal. I didn't really explain to you the Machmirim well, because before what I'm going to say, I don't really clearly understand it. So what I think is like this. It's easy like this. The argument is not whether if a person sees a dot, they're allowed to eat it or not. The argument is like this. The Machmirim hold, when something is big enough to be seen, let's say the bug that used to have legs on it, it was big enough to be seen, that's a bug that's awesome. If it now loses its legs, it gets crushed, okay, or it loses its legs, or it's not moving anymore, so I can't tell what it is. The reason why I'm allowed to eat it is not because the bug is mutar, but I'm an oinus. there's nothing I could have done to avoid this mistake. There's nothing I can't possibly know that the thing is there. So I'm not held responsible for what I did. The bug is in a class of bugs that are awesome because look, yesterday he was walking around and everyone could tell it was a bug. Did Hashem want me to eat that bug? Of course not. It was a bug that everyone could see. Now I'm an onus, and I'm not held responsible at all for eating this bug. Because what does Hashem want for my life? He can't expect me to avoid it because I have no tools to notice what it is. But I'm an onus from eating that bug. Okay, what the difference we're saying is that I'm not finished my thought for what they hold. The Machmirim will hold that the bug is not identifiable. I'm an onus for eating it. And the Mekilim will hold that not that I'm an onus, but that the bug becomes mutar. Okay? That the reason why bugs are usher, small bugs are mutar in the first place is because in a Kadosh Baruch Hu, bug petrunim years. Hashem's not trying to trick us into being over Yisurim. He doesn't put us into situations where we're hopeless, where it's impossible to succeed. So that tells us if a bug got to the point that no one could recognize it, that Hashem doesn't want it to be usher at that point. Who made bugs mutar usher anyhow? We saw in Halacha Aleph that there are bugs that are completely mutar. There are bugs that you're allowed to eat. It's not usher because it's a bug. If a bug is in the water, he could be mutar. When he gets out of the water, he becomes usher. What? Nothing different. Bugs could. It's in Hashem's will that the bug is mutar usher. So Hashem doesn't want to trick me into making me very soon. What is he trying to get me? That every time I eat a carrot, I'm being very soon because I don't realize those things are usher. Like David's person, how do I breathe? There's bacteria coming into my mouth. Obviously, Hashem didn't have that in mind. So he didn't ask that thing. Okay, so my point at this, what I'm saying now is that the machlokes is, if you eat it, you didn't do anything wrong. The question is, but if you didn't do anything wrong because it was mutar to eat the bug, or you didn't do anything wrong because you're an onus, because you're just not responsible because it was something beyond your control to avoid that thing. Okay, nafkamina is, the nafkamina is, what happens if I have a way of finding out that there's a bug there? I have a way to find it out. And I have a way to find it out that, let's say I had a way to find it out that any person could find out. If I looked really carefully, I spent a long time, I would find it. Okay? So if it's mutar, if the bug that's there is mutar, what are you wasting your time for? Why are you trying to get it out? Let's say I have worms in my fish. Can I get them out? I get them out. But why should I? They're mutar. Why would I waste my time? It's a bug that's mutar. Why would I take it out? But if you say I'm an onus, it's only because Hashem doesn't hold you responsible. Well, if I have a way to do it, then of course I should avoid that onus. Now, that means maybe that if I have a way to do it that Hashem does not expect me to do, I could put a magnifying glass to do it. I could go to the expert to get it out for me. Maybe I wouldn't be mechuyev to do that, but maybe it would be midas chasidus to do that. Maybe it would be a commendable thing to say is, look, there is a bug that Hashem doesn't want you to eat. He's not going to hold you responsible if you don't eat it. But if you care, Hashem really doesn't want you to eat that bug. It does. He's not going to hold you responsible because what were you supposed to do? How can you avoid that thing? But doesn't mean that it's not yet midas chasidus. Doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. If someone could teach you, if someone tells you like this, if you wash the vegetable with soap, you'll get off those bugs also that Hashem wanted you to get off. He's an expert. He looked at because he's been studying under a magnifying glass for 10 years. Okay? And he knows about these things. He tells if you wash it with soap, you get the bug off. So I said, maybe I'm not mechuyev to do that. But there's a bug on there that Hashem doesn't want me to eat. I'm going to be an onus for not eating it. I'm not responsible. But I have a way to avoid that onus. By washing with soap, I can avoid that. So then we could hear that the Machmirim are not saying it's usher to eat it. Usher, what do you mean usher? What do you mean usher mean don't do it? What am I supposed to not do? I can't see the thing. Usher means it doesn't mean usher as in don't do it, as in, but it's more as in a means chasidus. You know there's a bug Hashem doesn't want you to eat. Someone told you that by washing with soap you can get it off. Let's say washing it with soap will get it off. So what do you think Hashem wants you to do? You're not required to do that. But it's commendable. Hashem, it's well, I'll call it a mitzvah chasidus to do it. And that will mean is that two things. First of all, even if we're, again, I'm putting words into their mouth, but if we're explaining what the Machmirim are saying correctly, or if we're saying such a shita correctly, that means even those who hold that you should do this are only saying that it's the better thing to do, but wouldn't say that someone does the other way is doing the wrong thing. Okay? I'm being nice to the Mekil now. Okay? They would only say is we're doing our midas chasidus, and let me just finish. Right. Let me just finish. And the other thing is that they would say is if 100 years ago there was nobody who had a magnifying glass and who knew this, then those people they're not casting aspersions on those people. They didn't do anything wrong with those people because they had no way to avoid it, and you're takarainus if you didn't do it. There's no problem. Yes, what do you want to say?
If it's a mira motzoi that this type of thing has this type of bug that you can't see, why would it only be midas chasidus?
Because it's not mira motzoi. It's a thing that I'm an onus for eating that bug. I'm an honest because there isn't any way in the world I can tell that it's there. Now, wait, no. I pick up the vegetable. Okay, there isn't any way I should know that it's not there. So I'm allowed to eat it because I'm an honest from eating it. Now he says, someone else who will use the word an illegal method. He used magnifying fungus to know that there are bugs in 1 out of every 5 of those vegetables has it. He found that they're there. Okay, so I don't have to reckon with that. That doesn't make me responsible to know that those things are there.
Why not? If it's still a bug and it's usher, now they would say to my friend, hold it, if I picked up this thing that only he could tell, right? And he says this is usher, hey, eat it. We also have to eat it, but I did, right? But I mean, see this.
If that's what I'm saying, I don't know that they hold that that's usher.
Even if you had the bug, got a guy with a bug on a finger, and once you eat it, they would say it's only means chasidus.
Let's say someone picked up bacteria and did that to you. Okay, I'll tell you this. Let's say we take yeast out of your refrigerator, okay, and they put it into your challah. You say, oh, it's also to eat it because we know that.
I understand why it could be, but I just don't think they hold like that. Okay. I don't think they hold. If you have the bug, that it's why should we mutter? Why should they hold it as mutter?
Why should they hold it as usher?
You're saying it's mutter. Why? Because since most people can't tell it's a bug, it's mutter.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to have to think about it. If the guy was holding this hand and he said, I got it in front of me, here it is, we have to think about it. I'm not convinced that the machir would hold that below. My thinking is that they're saying is, nowadays we have people who can tell there are bugs there. The person doesn't want you to eat it because yesterday the thing was walking around. Yesterday we would have seen it walking around. Now it died. So now we're einsim. We have a way to avoid the eines, not that you're supposed to do it.
That can't be the whole mutter. It's not shayach whole mutter.
Okay.
But nobody's has means not the bacteria.
That's correct.
It's mutter menadin. It's 100% mutter menadin.
Bacteria is not a good example. I'm being not fair to you to say that, okay? Because we'll talk about it next time. Because things that if you couldn't see one of them at all, a spoonful of yeast is not one yeast bacteria, right? It's one yeast organism, right? It's 8 zillion of them, right? So one yeast I couldn't get onto a spoon. It wouldn't even get on a spoon. So I'm not really fair to ask you in yeast. It's not a fair example. Because you couldn't possibly pick one up and say, this on my finger. My finger's got lots of bacteria, right? Supposedly, so I look at my finger, I didn't just do this because, oh my gosh, I just ate those. I'm not sure. Okay. So anyhow, let me just wind down. We're already over time. Which is to say, we're just talking this, and I'm some people will hold. Some people will hold that even the machmir will hold that you're mechuyev to. Once you have this possibility, you could avoid the eines like that you're mechuyev to. But the mekilim are going to hold that it's not even mitzvah chasidus. That's my point here. Is the mekilim, which they for sure hold, that's not even mitzvah chasidus. Okay, so we have 3 possibilities here. We have it's completely asher, it's completely mutter, and that it's mitzvah chasidus. And I'm trying to say to you that the machmir, even the machmir hold, are on the closer to the mitzvah chasidus side. Okay, next time, Mitzvah Hashem will work on some of the practical applications. You can throw your stones in, and we could add some of the riots back and forth. Hopefully, we'll do it in one time. Maybe it'll be another 2 times.